Calaroga Shark Media.
From Alabama, where at least the commencement speech was entertaining, this is Ballot.
That's right, and I have a few new holidays for you to celebrate, so let's hit this. Hi, I'm Patrick Gutfield, and President Trump gave a commencement speech at the University of Alabama that was about as focused as a toddler in a toy store. Trump told the graduates they were the first graduating class of the golden age of America, which I guess means their student loans will now be repaid in actual gold. The speech was held at Coleman Coliseum with signs that read, "The American Dream is back." Though for many graduates, the American dream is just finding an apartment where the bathroom isn't also the kitchen. The president ditched his teleprompter for most of the speech and went full freestyle, bouncing from graduation advice to political rants faster than a caffeinated squirrel. He veered from egg prices to transgender rights while the crowd cheered, because nothing says memorable graduation moment like hearing about tariffs instead of your bright future. At one point, Trump told students not to think of themselves as victims, and then immediately launched into how the 2020 election was rigged against him. Self-awareness isn't exactly his strong suit. It's like telling someone not to eat junk food while you're elbow deep in a bag of Cheetos. Despite Trump's falling approval ratings, the crowd was full of MAGA hats. There were as many red caps as there were special red graduation hats for 4.0 students. The crowd even broke into chants of USA when he praised their sports teams and the clean shores of the Gulf of America. Trump even used the speech to take shots at Harvard, bragging about withholding billions from the university. He told the crowd, "It is clear to see the next chapter of the American story will not be written by the Harvard Crimson. It will be written by you, the Crimson Tide." So essentially, he's trying to start a college rivalry with more than just football. Next up, Harvard versus Alabama in the Electoral College Bowl. Trump announced he wants to rename Veterans Day to Victory Day for World War I and make May 8th Victory Day for World War II. You know what this country needs? More rebranding. Trump made this announcement on Truth Social, his own social media platform where he can say whatever he wants without anyone putting a little fact check box underneath. He wrote, and I'm not making this up, "We won both wars. Nobody was close to us in terms of strength, bravery, or military brilliance, but we never celebrate anything. We are going to start celebrating our victories again." Now, before you start planning your Victory Day barbecues, there's no executive order yet. And Trump seems to have forgotten that creating federal holidays is Congress's job. It's like when you promise to take everyone to Disney World, but forget you need to actually buy the tickets. Trump mentioned seeing all these VE Day celebrations in other countries and thought, hey, why aren't we getting more credit here? He claimed America did more than any other country to win World War II, which is a statement that might not go over well in Russia. For those keeping score at home, Veterans Day used to be Armistice Day, marking the end of World War I. Then after World War II and the Korean War, they renamed it to honor all veterans. We already have Memorial Day in May to honor those who died serving our country, but apparently that's not enough celebrating for Trump. He didn't specify what kind of celebrations he wants for these renamed holidays. Maybe military parades down Pennsylvania Avenue? Or perhaps a series of commemorative coins with his face on them? Or maybe just a really big cake that says, "We're number one," because nothing says honoring our veterans like telling everyone else they didn't do as good a job. Ever notice how the villains often steal the show? All this week, 5 Daily Trivia Questions celebrates these scene stealers with a special Villains Week event. Host Mark Ellison will take you on a journey through the fascinating world of antagonists, from the methodical Hannibal Lecter to the magical Maleficent, the calculating Moriarty to the chaotic Joker. What, no electric car manufacturers? Each day brings 5 new questions about the characters that push our heroes to their limits, and sometimes make us question which side we're really on. Whether you're a pop culture expert or just appreciate a good antagonist, Villains Week offers something for everyone. It's the perfect blend of entertainment and education that 5 Daily Trivia Questions is known for. It's Villains Week on 5 Daily Trivia Questions, available wherever you get your podcasts. Because sometimes it's good to be bad. Tired of doom scrolling? Want news that won't make you want to live in a bunker? Check out 5 Good News Stories, where they find the silver lining in a world that's usually lined with something much less pleasant. The gang at 5 Good News Stories dig through the headlines to find 5 stories that prove humanity hasn't completely lost its mind. It's pretty much the opposite of this show. From scientific breakthroughs nobody's talking about to random acts of kindness that restore your faith in humanity, all delivered with the cutting wit you deserve. 5 Good News Stories, because sometimes the news doesn't have to suck. Subscribe to 5 Good News Stories wherever you get your podcasts. President Trump just signed an executive order to cut funding for NPR and PBS because apparently Big Bird has been spreading fake news about the letter Q. The order, signed Thursday evening, accuses the broadcasters of biased and partisan coverage, which is honestly rich, coming from a guy whose go-to news source thinks the moon landing was filmed in Stanley Kubrick's basement. The order instructs the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to stop sending its $535 million to NPR and PBS, both directly and through local stations. Trump's basically telling Elmo, "You're fired." The CPB has been funding public broadcasting since 1967, but now stations that receive grants can't use that money for NPR or PBS programming. I guess it's time for Sesame Street to start accepting cryptocurrency. Trump and his allies have long accused public broadcasting of liberal bias. Just this March, PBS President Paula Kerger and NPR executives were grilled at a congressional hearing literally titled Anti-American Airwaves, led by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because nothing says fair and balanced like a hearing with a title that already decided the outcome. It's like holding a trial called This Guy Definitely Did It. The White House provided examples of what it calls biased content, including an NPR article about queer animals and a PBS documentary about a transgender teenager. Apparently, documenting that gay penguins exist is now considered leftist propaganda. What's next? Banning nature documentaries because bears don't wear pants? This executive order might face legal challenges, especially since the CPB is already suing the Trump administration for trying to fire 3 board members. The CPB argues it's a private nonprofit corporation, not a federal agency, which means the White House can't just waltz in and start calling the shots. It's like Trump showing up at your neighborhood book club and demanding everyone read The Art of the Deal. PBS CEO Paula Kerger previously stated that there's nothing more American than PBS, though I'm pretty sure most Americans would argue that title belongs to deep-fried Oreos or guns that shoot smaller guns. NPR pointed out that millions of Americans depend on NPR member stations for rigorous, fact-based public service journalism, which frankly sounds like socialist talk to me. The good news for public broadcasting fans is that government funding only accounts for about 16% of PBS's budget and just 1% of NPR's. The rest comes from viewers like you, corporate sponsors, and that tote bag guilt trip they lay on you twice a year. So don't worry, Terry Gross will still be making celebrities uncomfortable with probing questions for years to come. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to stock up on Mr. Rogers sweaters before they become contraband. Portions of today's program were made with the help of AI, the Allies, and Alabama.
In Washington, D.C., power flows through information. But what happens when the most sensitive military intelligence in the world ends up on the wrong phone? In the halls of power, a national security advisor makes a fatal miscalculation. On the other side of the world, a special forces team walks into a perfectly orchestrated trap. When the dust settles, 4 American soldiers are dead, 3 more captured. And the most catastrophic intelligence breach in modern history is just beginning to unravel. Signal Lost, a 6-part podcast thriller about betrayal, courage, and the devastating consequences of a world where even our most guarded communications are never truly secure. When everyone is listening, nowhere is safe. Signal Lost. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
As the world mourns Pope Francis, history's most secretive transfer of power begins. White Smoke, the path to a new pope, guides you through this momentous transition. We explain exactly what happens next, leading to the dramatic conclave vote. Learn how each ritual unfolds, what each tradition means, and why these ancient ceremonies still matter today. Follow along as the throne of St. Peter stands empty and a new chapter in church history begins. White Smoke, available wherever you get your podcasts.